Good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So glad that you joined us this morning. We have a lot to talk about. Trump rallying in New York and spending, I understand, the full hour past my bedtime, but the full hour on Gutfeld on Fox News. We're going to tell you a little bit about what he had to say. We've got some updates on the Harris campaign, some New York State issues. Former Governor Cuomo back somewhat in the news with speculation that he's going to run for mayor. Got a couple, I suppose, updates on that if you're interested. Of course, the Feds cut rates by a 0.5 percentage point. We've got the spending bill falling flat in the House. Boy, so many things that we need to get to. Oh, and a really good opinion piece by former gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin talking about the shape of New York and how blue it really is or isn't. We'll get to that in a little bit. First of all, did you see the second wave of explosions? Wow. Now, yesterday we talked about pagers. Pagers back in the news because of the explosions. Now we learn, what did they get? Walkie-talkies? Handheld radios used by armed group Hezbollah detonated yesterday across Lebanon's south in the country's deadliest day since cross-border fighting erupted between the militants and Israel nearly a year ago. Lebanon's health ministry said 20 people were killed and more than 450 injured yesterday. Wow. Israel officials have not commented on either blast, either the pagers or the walkie-talkies. You know, I've got to say, and there's so many people that have opinion pieces on this that are kind of echoing what we said yesterday, which is what a masterstroke of just mental mind games, if nothing else. Obviously, there's the physical side to it as well. But just the idea that they're saying, hey, you guys thought we had your cell phones hacked. We found a way to get to your pagers, your beepers, for heaven's sakes. It is now being reported that Israel officials, and it's not official that they were involved in it, but this is anonymous sources, that they decided to detonate thousands of pagers earlier on Tuesday than expected, over worries that the terror group might have uncovered their plot, according to multiple reports. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly greenlit the coordinated attack sooner rather than later, when intelligence briefings in recent days suggested Hezbollah might have detected the explosives allegedly placed inside the pagers. Wow. But nothing but a success. Now, there are those, and we predicted it yesterday on the program, that are criticizing Israel for the quote-unquote attack. I mean, well, we'll get to that in a moment. The Post editorial board says the blast sent just the right message. Now, Miranda Devine took it a little bit further, and I'm going to tell you what she had to say in just a moment. But the Post editorial board said that was some sublime act of counterterrorism, remotely detonating sabotaged pagers, walkie-talkies, and other devices belonging to Hezbollah terrorists. Good for Israel, even though they're not taking credit for it. The operation left at least 26 dead and thousands of terrorists hospitalized. And I also think there's the recon, if you will, of it all, knowing who had the pagers, knowing who had the walkie-talkies. It also, something that I think gets pushed by the wayside, and the Post mentions it, it continues to hurt the way Hezbollah communicates, that they can't find an effective mode of communication. Now their members will have to take extra precaution. Think of the paranoia you'll have anytime you make, like I joked yesterday, maybe they'll be using rotary phones at some point. Anytime they are trying to make a plan, anytime they are trying to communicate, imagine the fear, the nervousness. Will their computers explode? Their cars? The move was exquisitely calibrated, hitting the Hezbollah thugs with minimal harm to civilians. as is typical, mind you. Remember that. As is typical with Israeli military operations. Remember, when you see the protests, and we're going to talk about some of the protests, you see AOC and others always of the blame Israel first crowd. The way they have calibrated to keep minimal harm to citizens is really remarkable. And if it weren't for the sort of propaganda that's being used against them, it should be something that's lauded, not condemned. The strikes will remind all Israel's enemies that attacking it also puts them and those around them at risk. And this was no escalation, just a response. Or maybe just the start of a response. That's another mental part to this mind game. Is this just the beginning? Is this the warning to Hezbollah? Hey, you better knock it off. You realize we got to your pagers and walkie-talkies, for heaven's sakes. What else are we capable of? And keep in mind, since October 7th, Hezbollah's shot some 8,000 drones, missiles, and rockets into Israel, igniting massive fires, killing kids, and forcing the evacuation of nearly 100,000 Israelis. So when they say it's an escalation, it is not. And remember, and it's an important piece to all of this, that, when they talk about Hamas and Hezbollah, and this is all started from the October 7th terrorist attack. There was a ceasefire. There was calm. It was not Israel who started all of this. But so the pagers and this operation was totally justified. Jerusalem has demanded Hezbollah end the rocket fire and relocate north of the Litani River, or risk an all-out war with the Jewish state. Now, it's not too late for Hezbollah and its overlords in Tehran to avoid the looming nightmare that could come. But in the all too likely event war breaks out, Israel will need every advantage. Blowing up pagers and walkie-talkie, give them one. Giving them that step up in the psychological warfare. And Miranda Devine echoes that statement, saying nobody likes to see humans writhing in agony. But Israel's daring operation to simultaneously explode pagers in the pockets of Hezbollah terrorists and their associates this week was a ruthless tactical masterstroke. In bloody scenes captured on video on social media, men could be seen shopping or sitting on a motorbike 1 minute and on the ground moaning and covered in blood the next. Again, another way to pinpoint who is exactly involved in Hezbollah. Because not too many people carry pagers, number one. And number two, those pagers specifically carried by Hezbollah members. At least 12 people were killed and nearly 3,000 people were injured in Lebanon. And then 20 people killed and 450 injured with the walkie-talkie explosion the next day. In Hezbollah's macho culture, the psychological blow of their warriors and officials getting a very sensitive area blown up is acute. And so is the signal sent to Iran that no communication devices are safe. After Israel managed to kill Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh under the noses of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran by tracking his whereabouts via his cell phone. So this is why they were concerned, and rightfully so, that their cell phones had been compromised, so they went to the pagers. Hence the terrorists' migration to more primitive devices, antiquated devices like pagers. The ingenious paging Hezbollah operation was about as surgical of a strike on terrorists as you could possibly get. Although Lebanese authorities claim 2 innocent children were killed in Tuesday's attack, more tragic victims of a pointless war that Hamas started back on October 7th of last year. Of course, the Hamas sympathizers in the Democrat Party immediately condemned Israel, and we're going to talk about that in a moment with what AOC had to say. Any excuse to criticize Israel in what is, again, I think, well, to use Miranda Devine's word, a masterstroke. And we're not going to go into the proxy wars and Biden and Harris and the weakening there in their support of Israel. But it's no wonder that Israel doesn't trust Harris or Biden enough to inform them about the Hezbollah pager operation until the last minute. What a terrible indictment of American leadership. Yes, they knew that. Sadly, this administration could not be trusted with that information, because if they received that information, there's nothing to say that they wouldn't leak it to stop the attacks from happening. That is an indictment, to quote Miranda Devine, of what we're dealing with when we're dealing with Israel and tying the hands behind the back of Israel so often, and then criticizing them for dragging this on too long. It's disgraceful the way we've quote unquote supported our ally with Israel to the point where they don't even trust us to tell us about the pager attacks. That they are afraid that that could be leaked to Hezbollah and what was just a hugely successful psychological and physical warfare that was so strategic and so just it's like we said yesterday, and I had many viewers commenting on it, that it was the spy novel type story. To think that they were able to originally infiltrate and take out a leader of Hezbollah with a cell phone tracking, and then when obviously the cell phones being seen as compromised turns to antiquated pagers and they physically explode. It is amazing. So we'll tell you what AOC had to say after the break. Read some of your comments. We also have this leading into protests on the streets. Yes, yes, in Cornell. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hesselson's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselson's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
You just have to get in the seat of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Not because of how easy it is to use, or because of our expert dealers. Not even because it has implements for every job. You just have to get in the seat, because breaking ground on your dream home feels pretty great.
Right now at Lindsay Equipment, get up to $1,000 off and 0% financing for 60 months on all 2023 John Deere compact tractors in stock.
I'm Marian Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at Finish Your Diploma.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you for joining us this morning. I didn't even mention, we're going to be talking with Charlotte Smith in the 7 o'clock hour. She's going to tell us about the upcoming Heritage Festival at Heritage Villages, and that's what you may know as the Benjamin Patterson Inn. That will be Saturday from 10 to 4. We're going to find out what the event entails. Okay, let's go to a couple of viewer comments. First off, in spite of all the electronic ways of current times, remember the hundreds of battles throughout history didn't have technology. Well, sure, of course. Pagers and cell phones are faster and more convenient than having conversations at the tavern, but a lot less fun. Sure, the old days of meeting in the taverns, of course, but those are, I would think, clearly a thing of the past, especially at a time when I don't think Hezbollah, I don't even know, they're allowed to have taverns for religious reasons, number one. And number two, with Hezbollah, I don't think they want a gigantic group of Hezbollah supporters in one building. If I have any if I could read between the lines and what Israel's been able to accomplish. Another comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Referring to counterterrorism, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Fight fire with fire. Yeah, I think this is, again, I love that term that Miranda Devine used, masterstroke. AOC accuses Israel of violating international law after the attack targeting Hezbollah with the pagers that killed, I think they're saying 2 children. Is that right? Now, the majority of those hit were members or linked to members of Hezbollah, as we know. But so never missing an opportunity to blame Israel. AOC came out and said Israel's pager attack in Lebanon detonated thousands of handheld devices across of a slew of public spaces, seriously injuring and killing innocent civilians. The attack clearly and unequivocally violates international humanitarian law and undermines U.S. efforts to prevent a wider conflict. 2 things to take away from this. Number one, well, 3 things. Number one, Israel has not confirmed that it was them. So a little presumptive of her, though we all speculate. The second issue here is, well, let me reread it to you. Israel's pager attack in Lebanon detonated thousands of handheld devices across a slew of public spaces, seriously injuring and killing innocent civilians. This attack clearly and unequivocally violates international humanitarian law and undermines U.S. efforts to prevent a wider conflict. So that last line, undermines U.S. efforts to prevent a wider conflict, shows and proves once again to what Miranda Devine was saying. This is why Israel could not give America advance notice of the pager attack, or it would have been relayed back in some manner and it would have been a failure. Because you can tell by that, suggesting that, well, the U.S. is working to fix this. Well, Israel's doing a pretty good job of fixing it with attacks like that. But I think the biggest takeaway, number 3, the biggest takeaway in all of this, did you notice when she mentioned this? And if you were to read this for yourself and not know exactly what was going on, you would not know that the attack was on Hezbollah. Israel's mentioned. Lebanon is mentioned. No mention of Hezbollah. I wonder why that was omitted. It wasn't Israel's pager attack on Hezbollah detonated thousands of handheld devices. No, it was an attack in Lebanon. Interesting how you kind of have to muddy up the facts to get your message across. Isn't that interesting? So, again, never missing an opportunity to attack Israel. Now, speaking of Israel, Adam Brodsky has a piece this morning that says Harris's alarming anti-Israel stance would endanger its very survival, which is very reminiscent of what Miranda Devine was saying this morning. To avoid alienating voters, Kamala Harris is staying mum on the details of her presidential agenda. Yes, she's already left enough clues about her intentions towards Israel for its supporters to be highly alarmed. Her interview on Tuesday at the National Association of Black Journalists made that clear yet again. Harris would stick 100% to her team's current approach, which has dragged out the war by impeding Israeli military progress. She's blasting Israel and pushing a ceasefire that would set up another horrifying round of warfare. She's proud of the Harris-Biden halt on U.S. weapons to Israel. Quote, I'm entirely supportive of the pause that we put on the 2,000-pound bombs, she boasted. So there is some leverage we had and used. It all conforms to her team's obscene view that the Hamas terrorists and their Israeli victims are moral equals. And that is a common refrain. And listen, it's not me saying it. Van Jones, former Obama advisor, Van Jones saying there is the marbling of the Democrat Party with anti-Semitic bigotry, anti-Israel beliefs. The war has to end, she lectured, by getting a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal. Deal, how about an Israeli victory? Because again, I point to the fact, and it sounds like a broken record, there was a ceasefire deal on October the 6th and in the early afternoon of October the 7th, as a matter of fact. Israel has a right to defend itself, she allowed, but now it does so matters. How it does so matters, and far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Harris, of course, is pushing a two-state solution to ensure that Israelis have security and Palestinians, in equal measure, have security, self-determination, and dignity. To that end, she's putting pressure on all parties. Now, where do we start? Everyone wants the war to end. Everyone. Well, that is, except Hamas, right? So everybody wants this war to end except Hamas, and who are we coddling? And then who, on the opposite side of that coin, who are we condemning? The terror group openly says that if it survives, it'll launch more October 7th style slay fests and continue its war on Israel. A ceasefire, then even a supposedly permanent one, won't end the war. Only a full defeat of Hamas will ensure Israel's future security. So why does Harris think both sides need to be pressured? And for the record, Israel has agreed to most ceasefire plans offered, and Hamas has rejected them because they know they're seeing the weakening in the Biden-Harris administration and the Harris campaign, so they know if they can just last it out. Why not? I mean, if you're gonna, if you sit back and say, wait a minute, Israel's not going to be attacked for attacking Hezbollah with the pagers. Okay, let's just let Israel's ally go after them. The Veep's plea that far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed is one form of her pressure on the Jewish state. But how does Kamala know how many innocent Palestinians have died? By relying on casualty figures from Hamas? Yeah, that's what this propaganda that so many politicians and those in our media push are from propaganda outlets in Hamas, within Hamas. Nor does it distinguish Hamas casualties from those of non-fighters. Maybe because it regards, with good reason, all Palestinians to be anti-Israel fighters. Many civilians, you recall, took part in October 7th and harbored hostages. Overwhelming majorities of Gazans backed the war on Israel, want it destroyed, and would re-elect Hamas in a heartbeat. Yet even if you assume thousands of innocents have been killed, remember, Hamas started a war and is the one prolonging it. It can surrender whenever it chooses. Hamas purposely embeds itself among civilians to maximize non-combat deaths. Israel has done more to protect civilians than any other military in recent wars. If you go, well, I'm not going to go through the whole history here of Hamas and walls and like that, but when it comes to the Jewish state, though, Harris has made her views all too clear, and they're far more troubling for Israel's supporters. Okay, we're going to talk when we come back about the protests quickly. Then we're going to get into Trump's rally yesterday on Long Island, a New York rally, saying, and he said this before, I think he said this the last go around when he was in New York, saying, hey, New York, vote for me. What do you got to lose at this point? Oh, one thing we didn't mention, and I'd love to get your opinion on. What are your thoughts? I know we have some union members and the like in the audience. What is your thoughts on Teamsters just not endorsing? I think it's interesting that the majority of their supporters, when they polled, or their members, excuse me, when they were polled, support Trump. So I'm confused why there isn't a Trump endorsement there. If the majority of a union, it seems like when you have a majority of union members that want to strike, I'm not a union member, so doesn't that mean that you go strike? Or is there a certain threshold? So this is a question I posed to you this morning. If the majority of the Teamsters support Trump according to their polls, their internal polls, doesn't that mean there should have been an endorsement of Trump and not a non-endorsement? And then some Teamsters members are saying, well, see, the non-endorsement is essentially endorsing. It just means we're not for Trump. And it was kind of twisting themselves up into a pretzel, but I think seeing the writing on the wall that they would not have a lot of happy union members if the union came out with a full-throated endorsement of Harris. So again, I'm not a union member. I would love to know if you are. What is the threshold if there's going to be a strike and you're going to vote for a strike? Is it just a majority? Is it, 50 plus 1? Is it 80% have to 100%? I don't know. It's a question I posed to you. I guess I probably could have Googled it. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like...
Hey Google, turn on Rocky's Food.
It's like the ultimate connection. See why it's been awarded a Consumer Guide Best Buy and recommended by Consumer Reports. Drive the Nissan Rogue today.
Now get a low $269 per month lease for 36 months on the 2024 Nissan Rogue.
Struggling to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Talk to your doctor about #1 prescribed Entyvio, offering 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Entyvio, relief, remission for real.
Attention to your homeowners. Are you tired of paying too much for your energy bills? It's time you discover Koala Insulation of the Southern Tier, a premier insulation contractor. The professionals at Koala Insulation can give you a free, no-obligation insulation evaluation. It's one of the best home improvement investments you can make. Give us a call at 607-463-0616.
Discover Koala Insulation of Southern Tier. We are fully insured. Visit koalainsulation.com and find us near you.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groom. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Did you watch last night's, two Trump events? No, the first event, rally in New York, and then the second event, if you will, being on Gutfeld for the full hour. What were your thoughts? A little past my bedtime. I plan on watching it later today. Okay, so back to, we were talking about AOC, and this viewer has a comment. Every legacy media report on Trump begins with Trump. Without proof says, ... Yes, it's true. AOC seems to be jumping to conclusions that Israel was behind the pagers, but it's nice to hear that she's becoming a critical thinker. Thank you very much. So in the protests of AOC protesting Israel for the pager attack, never mentioning in her tweet or her X, never mentioning that Hezbollah is in any way, shape, or form involved, meaning that they weren't it just says attacks in Lebanon. It doesn't mention attacks against Hezbollah. But anyway, remember the Cornell professor we've brought to you for quite some time now that said that the October 7th attack was exhilarating? That's the one takeaway that people quote, but the whole speech that he gave was disgusting. Well, of course, there was no repercussions for that. He had some voluntary leave for a while. Now he's back with no discipline at Cornell. Yes, Cornell, right down the road. No discipline whatsoever. Now, we learned the other day that, of course, it's a private institution, so they can hire and fire whoever they want. But we also learned on the back end of that $127 million of your money and my money as New York State residents go to Cornell. Maybe there is some financial repercussions that could come from this, but only if Governor Hochul would have the courage. I don't believe she will. I think, as we saw with her talks about having a anti-mask law, it was nice to say she would have talks and put it off for the future when that story was right in the headlines. Now, notice we haven't heard much more about that from the governor. Same. I don't think we'll hear much about the cutting funding from Cornell. But the Cornell University professor, he's at it again. He was seen walking in part of an anti-Israel march on campus where protesters were chanting, "Long live the Intifada." Associate History Professor Russell Rickford. Imagine this. Remember yesterday, and I don't want to get on a tangent here because I'm feeling it. Remember when we were talking about colleges and how it's become a bubble, right? So you've been in academia your whole life, and you're a professor, and you're now surrounded by yes people. You're very, at that point, arrogant. And when I say yes people, it's the students, right? They can't go against you. They're looking for their grades. So any radical thing that you say, they have to support. And then if they become radical themselves and become activists, that's encouraged even further. Then you're maybe the teacher's pet, for lack of a better term. So you're surrounded by these yes people, and your whole life is lived in this bubble. Why wouldn't he be arrogant and cocky to think after just coming back, after all these questions and anger about what he said after the October 7th attack, when he comes back, why would he think that he should maybe sit this anti-Israel walk out? Right? Why would you think? Why not? Why would he think that? He's not going to get pushed back. If anything, he's going to get supported by his students, obviously, clearly, but also supported by the faculty. Associate Professor Russell Rickford walked with dozens of demonstrators as they spewed slogans against Israel, with one Jewish student calling the controversial instructor's presence at the protest insane and another accusing him of emboldening hate. Photos and videos obtained by the Post show Rickford clapping his hands along with a chants. He was wearing a newsboy hat on his head. I don't know what that is. Similar to the hat he wore last year when he made his shocking statements. Okay. So now he kind of likes this attention. Now, I see a lot of the protesters in the picture trying to skirt around maybe some rules here and wearing COVID masks. But anyway, intifada, if you're not aware, is their Arabic word meaning uprising or shaking off. So why would he think for a moment that he shouldn't attend this rally? He will not get any pushback. He'll only get support for this. Yes, obviously, it concerned, and rightfully so, Jewish students on campus. But that, we've learned time and time again from colleges, means absolutely nothing. From the administrators, the deans, the people in charge at these colleges, the support for, the protection of Jewish students from intimidation, violence, harassment, that means nothing to them. Those students do not matter. It's the anti-Israel protesters that matter at the end of the day. This is just what we observe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear from you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, the instructor gained notoriety when he celebrated Hamas's sneak attack on the Jewish state. We know that. But at this protest, protesters eventually crashed a career fair that was held on campus where school officials said they pushed past school police officers, though it does not appear Rickford was a part of that disruption. But again, showing how this leads to destruction, these protests. While Cornell called his comments back on October 7th reprehensible, they noted the words were protected under the First Amendment. He was out the past year on voluntary leave amid the outcry, but was allowed to return to teach at the Ivy this semester. Jewish student Davian Geckman, 19 years old, told the Post that it's insane to him that Rickford is allowed to teach at the school and feels comfortable to participate in fiery protests on campus after just returning. Quote, Cornell is spitting in my face in the face of the entire Jewish community, Geckman said. They're allowing professors to call for intifada, an end of the Jewish state. Again, whether it's Cornell or other many in Columbia, sadly, many of them in New York. It seems to be kind of a more lion's share in New York. But they have proven that they do not care about the security of the Jewish students. That is an afterthought, if a thought at all. So I'm not going to go into it, but a video posted by the Ithaca Times journalist showed students calling on the school to divest from weapons manufacturers. Cornell Vice President for University Relations, Joel Molina, said in a statement university police were pushed and shoved and guests felt threatened during the disruption. And will there be any repercussions for these students? That's my next question for you. Will there be any repercussions for the faculty members or the students that participated in pushing and shoving of police and making guests feel threatened? We know what the answer is. If history proves anything, the answer is no. And students were denied their ability to experience a career fair. This behavior is unacceptable, a violation of university policy, and illegal. Cornell police are working to identify those who violated our policies, and students will be referred to the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards for immediate action, including suspension. Faculty and staff will be referred to Human Resources. These individuals will also be subject to potential criminal charges. Yes, we'll look for those criminal charges. I'll make sure to bring that up as soon, and I'll check throughout the whole show in the next few days to make sure that I have that information for you as soon as it pops up. When we come back, we're going to go to the Trump rally. One last thing on this, on a positive note about what's happening on college campuses. Just quickly, and then into the Trump rally. I see a lot of comments coming in, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Oh, I had a couple waves to add, and now we go to break.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
It's time to stock up on your favorite New York wines at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines has the largest selection of Finger Lakes wines in the Southern Tier, all under one roof. Whether you're looking for Lakewood, Wagner, Wise, or Haslett 1852 Vineyards, GCP Discount Liquors and Wines is your convenient one-stop shop for these great wineries and more, all at the area's lowest prices. Shop GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
Time yet?
It's time.
Fun story time for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
New Yorkers are tough and work hard. Service jobs, office jobs, jobs that make you sweat. Respect to those retired from hard jobs, living on a fixed income, because everyone works to make ends meet. Life can be tough, but paying your energy bill shouldn't be. And finding ways to keep more of your hard-earned money isn't easy. Until now. New York State and New York State Utilities have partnered to build New York Energy Advisor, a one-stop site to find programs and resources that lower your energy costs to help you stay comfortable. It's quick, it's easy.
And then it's done.
Go to energyadvisor.ny.gov and get help to spend less.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thanks for joining us. A couple comments from viewers. The professor is obviously a donkey braying hee-haw. He should be fired for supporting terrorists. Regarding protests, do you happen to know what is going on at Binghamton University? I graduated from there and know there is a large Jewish student body. No, there was quite an issue where they said it was becoming a hotbed for kind of anti-Semitism. This was back in May. When the protests kind of first erupted across the country, right as the school year was about to end. So there were protests in Binghamton then. I have not seen or heard anything about protests in the new school year, except for, I want to say maybe at the very beginning of the semester, there was a sort of, they wanted them to de-invest from any type of military investment. And it wasn't, I don't think, pinpointed in reference to Israel, just in the larger picture of the industrial military complex idea. That's the last thing I've heard of. But I know there was the beginnings of real trouble back in May of last year. So that's the best I know. But if I hear anything, or if you hear anything, let me know. You're alum. They wouldn't let alum know. They want the money to keep coming in. Yeah, that was a bad point. Next up, yes, I watched the New York Trump rally. Sadly, flipping New York, like he said, is probably not going to happen with the large cities in play. But fun to dream of it. If it ever does solidly, I would probably consider moving back from Tennessee. Yes, we have someone watching from Tennessee. That's right. You heard me correctly. I know, it's fun to think about, isn't it? But I'm going to get to what Lee Zeldin had to say. I think you're going to find it interesting. You have heard me say it on the program before. I am jaded when it comes to that. I don't have a lot of hope that New York would ever turn red. But hey, I'm pessimistic. You be optimistic. Don't let politics get to you like it's got to me, because it is fun to dream about, like you said. One last thing on the college protests. I think you're going to like this one. Harvard, that has a lot of anti-Semitism on its grounds, is now not the university itself, but Harvard is fighting anti-Semitism one drop kick at a time. What am I talking about? A Jewish group at the Ivy League school got a lesson from UFC's Nathan Lethal Levy. on how to battle hateful bullies after the campus was hit with a wave of anti-Semitism. There's a perception that Jews are physically weak. We need strong Jews, Harvard Chabad president Rabbi Hershey Zakiri told the Crimson. The hulking Israeli fighter, who boasts the nickname Lethal for his cutthroat mixed martial arts smackdowns, taught the college's Chabad group a series of rear kicks, jab crosses, and wrist grabs during a self-defense class just last week. What a great idea. What a great idea from this Jewish organization on campus. I teach people to stand strong, to show confidence, to be proud of who they are, to never be ashamed of who they are and where they came from, said the 32-year-old fighter. His school of hard knocks was also a celebration of religious pride. He said, the main goal is to make everybody feel safe. We want, again, everybody to be confident in their skin. Many Jewish students have reported feeling unsafe on the Harvard campuses, and this has happened on many campuses, not just Harvard. I think this should be implemented on campuses throughout the country. I think this is amazing that he took the time out to teach that group. Students have also pointed to several recent anti-Semitic incidents, like a case in which, there was a lot of different examples. I don't have time to go through it because I just looked at the time. But Levy, who has an 8-2 record in the UFC, became a poster boy for Jewish toughness last year when a white supremacist troll challenged him to a cage match. And he gave the hate-spewing dimwit an embarrassing beatdown. The class he taught was part of a free 6-part course known as Stand Strong, which was founded in 2019 as reports of anti-Semitism spiked in the U.S. So good on UFC's Nathan Lethal Levy. I don't watch a ton of UFC fights, but I will now be supporting Mr. Levy if I do. Okay, we got time. Let's talk about Trump's rally. What do you think? We got some comments coming. Interesting ones. Okay. Trump's Coliseum rally. Again, I don't know whatever you want to think about New York turning red, but it was a big day for the GOP in general in New York. Flanked by Suffolk County GOP Chairman Jesse Garcia, State Chairman Ed Cox, they started the show by warming up the crowd, blaming Biden and Harris for the wars that began in their first term and for trashing the economy. And I'm not going to give you all of the people that were there. If I see any local names, I will mention them. But they said the fever had been building all day. It wasn't yet even 1 p.m. when Arthur Walsh, the chief deputy for Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, was walking among early arrivals at the Coliseum. He was seen and heard smoozing outside the entrance during a workday with a couple of rally goers with whom he had mutual friends. Okay. It started about 1. Or people started arriving around 1. Trump was scheduled to start at 7-ish, I believe. It was a big rally. I mean, the pictures were amazing. Now, Trump did make a bold prediction. Standing in front of the packed arena, former President Trump predicted victory in November in the reliable blue state. It hasn't been done for a long time, but we are going to win New York. And that's the first time in many, many years that a Republican can honestly say it. And we're going to do it. We have to do it. We do it. And the election nationwide is over. Now, they're saying that the Coliseum was at capacity, 16,000 people packed in. Wow. Now, listen, if you look at the polling number while Biden was still in there, he was within scratching distance of New York. I think things have changed since Harris became the nominee. Oh, and again, I want to ask the question because I haven't received an answer. I don't know. Maybe we don't have any union, and maybe all unions are different. The Teamsters did not endorse. It's historic, first time in I think 30 years that the Teamsters did not endorse the Democrat, meaning they did not endorse Harris, but they did not endorse Trump. Now, their internal polling with the Teamsters showed that Trump was more supported by the Teamsters. So if you're a union member, what is the threshold, for instance, to go on a strike? Is it 50 plus 1? Is it, or half plus 1? Is it 90% threshold? Because it seems to me, I think I read somewhere where Trump got around like right about 60% of support from the Teamsters. Would that be enough? And again, I don't know the answer to this. Would this be enough for a strike, or is it because I think if their members are showing that they want Trump, shouldn't they then endorse Trump and not go the wishy-washy way of not endorsing when they normally historically always endorse Democrats? I mean, yes, I think it's a huge blow to Harris, no matter how much the media is trying to downplay it. And they're saying, well, there's some local Teamsters presidents that endorsed us. Okay. I don't think those local Teamsters presidents then speak for their union members. And I think that's something they should take up internally as well. So just posing that question, what did you think of Trump's rally? Keep the comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Hustleton's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hustleton's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hustleton's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hustleton's Hot Spring Saltwater Hot Tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hustleton's.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Thanks for joining us. We got a lot of comments coming in. I received a comment or a call, and I thank you. I just haven't had a chance to go through it. I was putting together... oh, here we go. Man, we got a lot of comments coming in. Okay, so I will get to that one in a moment. I just have to go through it because I think I've mentioned before. I really love the voicemails. It translates it for me or puts it into transcript for me, and so sometimes it gets a little goofy. So I haven't had a chance to go through it. We also have, and I'm confused by this. There's someone that doesn't like the show, but that still gave us a wave. I'm taking it. Have more ignorant blanks on your show, and I can't read most of what the viewer said. Keep spreading ignorance. But I'm confused because you seem upset at Allard, and I'm Sheriff Allard. I don't say seems. You are clearly upset with Sheriff Allard. And you're wanting me to ask questions. Sheriff Allard isn't on the show today, right? I mean, no, an old show's not playing. I'm confused. But it shows how dumb I am. Probably dumber than cops, and they're the dumbest. I should have been a prison guard, meaning me. You should have been a prison guard. Okay. I don't know. I don't agree with your sentiment whatsoever, but I'm also confused as to why Sheriff Allard's name's coming out. He's not here. He's not on the show this morning. As a matter of fact, we always enjoy having Sheriff Allard on the show. That's not the point. I'm just confused. That's all. Just confused. Our guest, though, is going to be Charlotte Smith here in a little bit about the Heritage Festival, which is on Saturday from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. And that's a Heritage Village, where the Benjamin Patterson Inn is located. So you can hit up in whatever order. You can go to the Heritage Fest. Then you can go to Harvest Fest right here on Market Street. Perfect timing, right? Yeah, I say what a great Saturday. And then you either come down to the Alzheimer's Walk in Watkins Glen, or you donate. I'll let you know how you can do that in a little bit. Okay, Trump makes a bold prediction. We got a lot of comments coming in. Thank you. Trump makes a bold prediction about the 2024 presidential election, as I mentioned. But we do have a point from a viewer, which is two things. I think the protesters should be considered as being terrorists. I mean, they're terrorizing Jewish students. You raise a very good point. And then New York did elect Pataki, who was a Republican. At first he was. I shouldn't say that. whatever you think about Pataki, but you are correct. I absolutely. But the last time I think it went presidential was Reagan. Oh, and at that rally, I forgot to mention our buddy Mike Sapper-Cohen running for United States Senate, who was on the program not that long ago. He was at the rally. Yes, it's been, let's see here, 40 years since a Republican nominee has carried New York State in a presidential election. You have to go back to President Ronald Reagan, who won the state as part of the landslide re-election victory in '84. Trump promised New Yorkers that if he wins back the White House, I'm going to reduce your taxes, reduce your crime, and reduce your levels of stress. Hey, yesterday we had a big article about how people are 3 times a week getting kind of sick almost because of stress, whether it's, what was the term that they use, kind of spinning, your head spinning, losing sleep, those type of things, mind fog. So, hey, it's a good way to tell us. And the former president pledged that during a second term, quote, I will officially make the Ground Zero site at the World Trade Center a national monument, protected and maintained by the United States government. Yeah, there was some chatter that New York could go his way when Biden was still in. I'm not sure as much so now. Again, I'm being pessimistic. Trump campaign spokesman Tim Murtaugh said quite clearly New York is the biggest media hub in the country. When Trump delivers a message there, it's piped directly into homes in every market and every battleground state. The most valuable commodity we have is President Trump's time, and that event is making efficient use of it. It's a good point. It's a great place to visit and do a rally, and he gets such great response when he goes. I look at what he did in the Bronx. Now, Trump's rally was the first since this past weekend's apparent second assassination attempt. He said, these encounters with death have not broken my will. They have really given me a much bigger and stronger mission. They've only hardened my resolve to use my time on earth to make America great again for all Americans, to put America first. And Trump said that God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you, not once, but twice. All right, let's take the last break of hour number 1. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Struggling with severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Talk to your doctor about #1 prescribed Entyvio, offering 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Entyvio, relief, remission for real.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is History Making. And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up hour number 1. So many great comments. So I posed a question about if there's union members out there. I didn't know how it works. If you were to go on strike and you go to vote, how many people would take? Because I just think it's a shame that Trump apparently has the majority support of Teamsters, and yet the Teamsters union, though they didn't endorse Harris, which is historic amongst itself, but they didn't endorse Trump either. A couple comments from viewers. I think the union workers are still hearing, I don't work for you. And to top it off, he proved it. Okay. Next up, my son's a union member. Sadly, the union leaders think more about politics and less about its members. When the minimum wage went up to the level of apprenticeship pay, they lost many to Walmart. His union contract is locked in until 2026. Thank you very much. Here's another comment. This is from Ken. Ken says, I have been a dedicated union member for 45 years. If it wasn't for unions fighting for wages and conditions, the labor force, union and non-union, wouldn't have the benefits it has today. For the last 15 years of my career, I was in charge of manpower for a very large union construction company, which averaged over 100 tradesmen on the payroll year to year. As you may have guessed, I have followed and discussed politics for many years. I would assume so, Ken. During my career, the hundreds of tradesmen I interacted with were, with only a couple of exceptions, conservative and supported the Republican Party. The upper management of the unions has a deep-seated belief that the Democrat Party is still the one of the past, where they were truly supportive of organized labor. And I suspect that they enjoy being invited to political events and are supported by the Democrats in their own elections. The lower management levels that I directly dealt with were closet Republicans. They just couldn't be vocal about it. So while the rank and file of the Teamsters are mostly for Trump, management would have a hard time openly supporting him. But make no mistake, not endorsing either candidate is an endorsement for Trump. I agree. And first of all, thank you for all the information, Ken. An inside look, because again, I've never been a union member. I've just never been in a situation where I could be. But in this, it's fascinating to me because we know that it seems to me, just from observing, that the people that are speaking for the unions are obviously always Democrat and always pushing teachers union. We see it a lot, always pushing the Democrat line. And to me, it always seemed like with tradesmen, Teamsters, the auto workers, it seemed to me, why would they not support Trump? I don't have an answer. I don't know. They would have to tell me, but why would you not? It just seems like he has your best interest at heart. So I was not surprised. And I think your point is great because I saw someone say, well, listen, it's not a not endorsement for Harris. They got to twist themselves into a pretzel. It's a not endorsement for Trump. No, you're exactly right, Ken. Not endorsing either candidate, which in 30 years hasn't happened, I think, since Dukakis. That is a clear endorsement for Trump, without management being able to say, hey, the presidents, the union presidents saying, hey, we don't want to go to the cocktail parties anymore. We don't want the pats on the back from the big shot politicians. We don't want support in our own reelection campaigns. So we're going to go with Trump. I think you are right on the money, Ken, and I really appreciate that. Keep the comments coming in. This hour of Frankly Speaking is through. As I mentioned, Charlotte Smith will be our guest from the Heritage Festival, which is on Saturday. Also on tomorrow's program, I meant to highlight this the other day. Michaela, I always say it wrong at first. Michaela Rossetti Azimi. She's running for Steuben County Court. Remember, we had Matt McCarthy, her opponent, on last Friday, and I said that we would have his opponent on again soon, and she's going to be on tomorrow. Candidate for Steuben County and Family Court Judge Michaela Rossetti Azimi. She's going to join us tomorrow on the program, so you don't want to miss that. We got a lot of guests next week. Monday, we're going to talk about Donate Life. You're going to have to stay with us. You're not going to want to miss even a second of it. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to highlight some events coming up this weekend because, as we've stated on the show, it is a busy, busy weekend, and that's part of why we had Charlotte Smith on right around 7:20, I think that interview will be. So, all right, enough of that. Keep the comments, keep the waves coming in. We're going to talk more about Trump's rally, a little bit of his time on Gutfeld. Also, what did you think of the Teamsters' non-endorsement of Harris? A couple things about Harris's campaign as well. And we can talk about Mike Johnson. They're saying he's probably going to be out. This is his last rodeo, is a quote that they're using. But also that the budget bill stalled or failed, I should say. Your thoughts on that. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm. to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about the Rowdy Rally in Long Island. He says he'll save New York. I like when, and he's done this in the past, where he says basically, and I don't disagree with him, hey, New Yorkers, and I'm gonna paraphrase because I know there's children watching on their way, getting ready for their way into school. What the heck do you have to lose, New York? Yeah, there's a question I pose to you. What do we have to lose if we don't vote for Trump in New York? He also talked about the second assassination attempt, saying these encounters with death have not broken my will. They've really given me a much bigger and stronger mission. They only hardened my resolve to use my time on earth to make America great again for all Americans, to put America first. He had quite a few great lines in this. The reason I'm here, we are going to win New York. Just to show you how rowdy this was. It was like if you've never been to a Trump rally, I've been to 2. Both feel like going to a rock concert, with the kind of bootleg merchandise out front, but it got so rock starish that at least 2 women got a little too caught up in the moment and flashed at Trump, with only having to be led away by police after the R-rated dancing in the stands. So very much, you see the old videos of rock concerts where that was a more typical thing than I think it is now. I guess that's how excited they got about the Trump rally. Man, Long Island sounds like a wild time. We're going to have the greatest win in history when we pull this one off. It will be legendary, he said. I say to the people of New York, with crime at record levels, with terrorists and criminals pouring in, with inflation eating your hearts out, vote for Donald Trump. What the heck do you have to lose? We're going to rescue our Democrat-run states. We're going to start by saving the great state of New York. In a moment of apparent goodwill, Trump vowed not to hold a grudge against New York for its officials prosecuting him in civil and criminal cases, saying, despite all the persecution I've endured from the corrupt judicial system in New York, I love the people of the state, and I want to give back. I'm going to reduce your taxes, reduce your crime, and reduce your levels of stress. Now, I don't want to keep going into all the quotes, because I know I fall into that trap sometime. You probably either watched it last night or you're going to watch it later today. But what a turnout. It's amazing. Just like with the Bronx. You don't expect that kind of turnout, perhaps, in New York. But that's exactly what happened. I wish he'd have more in New York, or at least close here on the borders in Pennsylvania, so we would have an opportunity before election to see him. We've got the street cleaners coming by if you hear any noise. There must be some concern. I'm going to talk about what Lee Zeldin had to say in a minute, the former gubernatorial candidate. But there must be some concern because CNN has this piece in today on their front page. New York Democrats are desperate to avoid a repeat of their 2022 midterm collapse. Oh, backing up. Again, we got the street cleaner outside if you hear that in the background. A hollowed-out state party apparatus, an off-kilter campaign by the governor, a botched redistricting plan that squeezed out incumbent House members. Yet, remember, Governor Hochul, this is really fully on her back. And she knows it because last time she hired some out-of-state consultant, remember, and he said, you got to run completely on abortion. And Lee Zeldin, who we'll get to in a moment, said, we're going to talk about public safety, which is number 1 in New Yorkers' concern list right now. And he came within very close distance of beating Hochul. And because of his strong campaigning, because of his hard work, many people say that the House was won for Republicans through New York and the flipping of certain seats. So Hochul is kind of is on thin ice when it comes to this. Now, New York Democrats offered a wide array of excuses for their disastrous 2022 midterms when Republicans flipped 4 seats outside New York City on their way to winning a narrow U.S. House majority. Now, less than 2 months out, the state party, its campaign season allies, chastened candidates, and Governor Kathy Hochul are betting on what most describe as a revitalized political project, a series of them, in fact, to help the state deliver Democrat majority makers, particularly from suburban districts, to the House next year. But to have this piece shows there must be some concern, and that leads in to a former gubernatorial candidate, Lee Zeldin, who was so instrumental in Republicans taking back the House. He said, we are less than 50 days from Election Day. Yeah, what is it, like 48 days, 47 days, something like that? We are less than 50. Yeah, I think I heard the number yesterday, but we are less than 50 days from Election Day. And with thousands of New Yorkers packing out Nassau Coliseum on Long Island on Wednesday to see Donald Trump speak, all eyes are on New York. Why New York? Weak, corrupt, incompetent, and inept leaders have passed law after law that have made life less safe and affordable. New York continues to lead the nation in out-migration because pro-criminal, high-tax, and sanctuary policies have forced countless New Yorkers to seek refuge in other states. Many have reached their breaking points, but have found hope in the New Yorker running at the top of the ticket. And just to go back to what Zeldin said before I continue with it, we've talked about not just the people that have left, but we have some that are watching right now. In many ways, or people that are, and this is the point that I'm about to make, the people that have their 5-year plan, that say, I'm not ready at this time financially, whatever, family-wise, to move. But in 5 years, I want to be ready to move from New York. And that's why we keep leading the nation in out-migration, in this mass exodus of people. But Lee Zeldin believes that Trump brings hope to New Yorkers, and this is what he says. Trump's roots are in New York. He grew up in Queens, and as a businessman, has helped build the state that is our home. From the Woolman Rink to construction that pierces high into the New York City skyline, many feel strongly that this November, New York could be Trump country. Santa College polling at this time in 2022 said I was down 17 points, meaning Lee Zeldin, in my race for governor. But we ended up getting just under 50% of the vote, flipping control of the House of Representatives in the process. President Trump is undoubtedly polling better in New York than I was at this time last cycle. He cut Joe Biden's lead to mid-single digits before the Democrat Party enacted their coup to oust the sitting president and leader of their party. As I continue with what Lee Zeldin had to say, what do you think he's going to do next? Go back, try to run back for Congress, try another gubernatorial run? Because we can't have him just go off into the distance. Some speculate that he would be the state GOP chairman, but that didn't happen. It ended up being Ed Cox took back the position. So what's he run? I mean, this is a great piece. Talking about the problems that we're dealing with in the state. But let's continue. But make no mistake, New York is a battleground state. Our race for governor earned the most votes for a statewide Republican candidate in over 52 years. And with that came 5 suburban House districts and a Republican majority. The red wave that failed to materialize nationally took over New York, and it resulted in Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and gavels being passed on from the hands of Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff, Maxine Waters, and Nancy Pelosi. We now have a great freshman incumbents. We now have great freshman incumbents running extremely competitive re-election bids that Democrats have poured millions of dollars into. President Trump showed up to campaign in New York, and it will have a great down-ballot impact for someone like Anthony D'Esposito, who represents the district where Nassau Coliseum is located. President Trump now holds a lead in New York's 4th congressional district, a district that previously voted Obama, Clinton, Biden. Trump's support will also help challengers like Mike LaPigtree, running on Long Island's North Shore, and Trump's message will be heard across the Hudson Valley, where Allison Esposito is running against a freshman Democratic incumbent in a district Allison and I won by 3 points in 2022. A lot has changed in New York since then, and it's been quite damaging politically for the Democrats running for more power. Eric Adams' popularity grew worse. Kathy Hochul's numbers continue to tank as well, as she continues to compete for the title of worst governor in America. We have an opportunity to shock the world in 2024, prove that we are a battleground state that will rise again and save the country while we're at it. Hochul evaluated an alleged agent of the Chinese Communist Party to be her, or elevated, and keep in mind, we haven't heard about that in a while, have we? Interesting how that story kind of left the news cycle. Hochul elevated an alleged agent of the Chinese Communist Party to be her deputy chief of staff, and every New Yorker sees right through her congestion pricing pause. Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, who are leading the charge to imprison Trump and bankrupt his family, aren't making the political situation any better for the left. The migrant crisis, which was not a top 3 issue 2 years ago, is now a number 1 issue for many New Yorkers. Law-abiding residents in underserved communities have been voicing outrage as the city and state put 1,000-bed migrant housing facilities on soccer fields, provide shelter in some of our finest luxury hotels, and even hand out prepaid debit cards to criminal illegal aliens. New Yorkers know which presidential candidate will secure our border, enact the largest deportation operation in American history, make our streets safe, restore our quality of education, and make life more affordable. It is Donald J. Trump, the same guy who the left is trying to assassinate, bankrupt, and imprison for the rest of his life. That's Lee Zeldin, former gubernatorial candidate, writing an opinion piece for the New York Post. I didn't know if you'd have an opportunity to see it, so I wanted to bring it and pass along to you your thoughts on Trump. Listen, I've said already where I stand. I don't have a lot of faith in New York. I think we continue voting the same way, not necessarily in upstate, but voting the same way and wondering why people are leaving in droves, why taxes are so high, et cetera, et cetera. Now, at the rally, Trump did meet, I don't know if you saw this, very touching. Well, first of all, he said he's going to Springfield. I know the media, that's all they want to focus on. He's going to Springfield, Ohio in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be there in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Springfield, and I'm going to Aurora. You may never see me again, but that's okay. I got to do what I got to do, Trump said. Trump on Wednesday said he thought the mayor of Springfield was a very nice person, but slammed him for not expelling the migrants who Trump falsely claimed are undocumented. Okay, so that's from CNN, obviously. But did you see Trump before the rally meeting with a young supporter with a rare brain disease? An 8-year-old boy received the surprise of his young life after former President Donald Trump greeted him in person during his rally Wednesday in New York. Now, I know you did not see this unless you happen to watch Fox News or you're watching this program. Because let's face it, this is a heartwarming side of Trump that we've seen in the past, but that the media will not report on. Now, his name's Liam. He's an 8-year-old boy who has a rare brain disorder. He was recently given a letter from Trump just before his 8th birthday, and his heartfelt reaction to the surprise went viral. Doctors warned the family Liam might never walk, talk, or eat on his own, according to his mother. I'm going to try to pronounce her name. Siobhan, Siobhan. My buddy here plays ice hockey. He does roller hockey. He does very good in school, plays sports. We're so proud of him, she said to Fox Digital. Liam's mom said he has been a Trump supporter since he was 18 months old. Wow. That's dedication. After receiving the letter, Liam's family was invited to Trump's Uniondale rally as a VIP guest, where Liam received an even bigger birthday gift by meeting the Republican nominee. I'm supposed to be on that stage, but that doesn't matter because I got you the best present. This is the best present you'll ever have, he said while greeting him. He handed him a box and said, there's really good stuff in here. We're going to have to take a picture for life, you and I. We're going to have that picture for life, you and I, he said, after taking a photo of the two. Take care of yourself, okay? He told the family, I wish I looked like that, or I look like that, I'd be president. I don't know, did you hear what was in the box? Well, anyway, Liam was interviewed, and he said, Trump 2024. Liam's mother said, I'm literally in tears. Now, the original viral clip, which caught national attention, showed Liam eagerly opening an envelope with a letter addressed to him from the former president. This is a side of Donald Trump that nobody gets to see, said Kevin Smith, who shared the original post. Most Americans, he said, only see Trump's public persona and widespread media coverage. The letter read, Dear Liam, happy birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your life and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. So I'm not sure what was actually in the box, but a side that you may not see outside of Fox. We've got a couple other things we're going to get to. Keep those comments coming in, running just a tad bit late. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Hesselsen's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs. Deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselsen's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's Hot Spring Saltwater Hot Tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Trust your smile to the friendly staff at Watkins Glen Family Dentistry. From same-day CEREC crowns to advanced imaging using our Vaytech cone beam, to our pain-free dental anesthesia system, the Wand STA system, Watkins Glen Family Dentistry provides you with the best dental care in the region. We welcome people of all ages and will treat everyone in your family like one of ours. Visit our office at 703 South Decatur Street in Watkins Glen or visit us online at watkinsglenfamilydentistry.com.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world. Over 50 teas, a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Globally inspired cuisine and striving to give you an ultimate experience. Come in and try the frankly delicious Turkey Club special for just $20, including your beverage of choice. Pangea Global Tea House. Yet a really good tea house bringing you the flavors of the world, offering something for everyone.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back.
To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels,
that's a love we can all fight for.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to be talking with Charlotte Smith from the Heritage Festival, which takes place this Saturday from 10 till 4 over by the Benjamin Patterson Inn on 73 West Pulteney Street in Corning. It's a fun event. You're not going to want to miss it, and it's what a great day of events. I'll promote the Alzheimer's Walk here in just a little bit. Comment from a viewer. Republicans gave no money to Zeldin next election. Maybe they will, and he will win. Yeah, there's a common trend when a Republican runs for governor in New York. Not only does his party hardly spend any money on him, you don't even have the Governors Association, Republican Governors Association like that, give any money. So you're right. A little extra effort would have went a long way. So Trump was on Gutfeld's show last night, and you can tell when a CNN or an outlet like that writes about it, they don't even know how to explain Gutfeld. It's because they don't know. So it'll say something like a late night talk show that they've never mentioned before. So they have to explain to their viewers or to their readers exactly what it is because they're in such a media bubble, right? In actuality, well, we'll try. It's very successful. So very often beating the quote unquote big name hosts of late night talk shows. So Gutfeld said, "How's your golf game?" Trump said, "Well, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, about it too much lately. I always said golf is a very dangerous game." They had a little fun back and forth. He said he regretted during the debate. He said, "Is that I wanted to be elegant and I didn't want to go after the anchors. I wish I did in a way." Yeah, that would have been, well, we could talk about the anchors all day long and the bias there, David Muir and others. But I thought it was interesting when he talked about Tim Walz because I had not heard this story before. Maybe you had. Trump recalled the time he received a panic phone call from the Minnesota governor, Tim Walz, after the then president's supporters surrounded his house. This was during some of the protests that ravaged Minnesota that Tim Walz seemed to have supported. He called up years ago, said Trump. "I was in the White House, and he said, my house is being surrounded by people with American flags. I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think they're attacking me," he said. "They were MAGA people." Walz said, "Could you put out a word like I'm your friend? I don't even know him." Trump said, I don't even know him. And if you look back long ago, I put out a statement. He's a good man. The governor's on our side. I didn't know him, but I didn't want him to get hurt. And everybody put down their flags and they left. He said it was a miracle. I didn't want him to get hurt. I mean, it's a true story. I'm sure it's a little bit Trump-esque, but it's a true story if you look at the history and the time frame of tweets. Okay. So he regrets not going after the ABC moderators. We've talked about the moderators. David Muir's ratings taking a hit, where the other moderator, whose name always escapes me, and I don't know why it does, and I should remember it because I've said it, about 1 million times? I know it's Davis, but Lindsay Davis. So Lindsay Davis admitting that they had practiced ahead of time fact-checking the president. So really having, how they said that Harris would sit down and run through these mock debates, very similar as moderators saying, what do you think Trump would say here? Okay, well, we got to be ready with a fact check, because they thought Biden did such a poor job responding to Trump that they thought, well, Harris might do just as bad. We've seen her in debates in the past when she ran for president in 2019. We've seen her word salads in interviews. So we've got to be there to protect her against Trump. Now, you and I would say that's not a fair debate. That's not even a debate. That's 3-on-1. That's two people that don't believe in the Harris campaign, don't believe in the personality or the debate skills of Kamala Harris. But think of how much time has changed since when Romney was incorrectly fact-checked during that debate with Obama. And there was some outrage at the time. Now it's not only encouraged and supported, it's expected that you knew there would not be a fact check from Harris when she came out and mentioned Trump's Project 2025, which isn't Trump's, which Trump had nothing to do with. When they didn't fact check her on that, which is an outright blatant lie, and there's others, that was just the first one that kind of I noticed saying, wow, they're going to let her get away with saying anything. Good people on both sides, hoax, et cetera, et cetera. They were going to let her get away with anything, and yet they fact checked him. And I think it's just from a purely media standpoint, from just purely someone that's worked in media and interviewed thousands of people through the years, to me, it just makes an interview, or in this case, a question during a debate, almost unwatchable, unlistenable, because its constant interruption does not make the story should never be about the moderator, right? Is what it turned out to be. I always felt while doing an interview, and I'm sure I haven't always adhered to this perfectly, but people don't want to hear from me. You can hear from me on the show. You want to hear from the guest and what they have to say. That's the important part, in my opinion. The important part for me was to hear from the candidate for president of the United States, but David Muir and Lindsay Davis thinking that they should be the star of the show. They should be a de facto part of Harris's campaign during that 90-minute event. All right, we've got more to talk about, but we've got our guest coming up, Charlotte Smith, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Struggling with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Talk to your doctor about #1 prescribed Entyvio, offering 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Entyvio, relief, remission for real.
Entyvio. Y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water. And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street, and I'm excited to talk about Heritage Festival, a.k.a. the Wing Blinger.
Yes.
Do you remember the days of the Wing Blinger?
People still do.
Of course. Of course. Well, it's so synonymous with fall. And talk about perfect timing. We've got the Heritage Festival, which is right down the road, nearly walking distance. So you go Harvest Fest here on Gafford District, or vice versa, and you go to the Heritage Festival. Very similar names, too. We don't want people to get confused.
No.
This is very
different.
different.
They can come to both.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, the timing is perfect. It's from 10 to 4 on Saturday. And the Heritage Festival is at what most people know is the Benjamin Patterson Inn. Tell us a little bit about how the planning's going.
So planning is going really great. We're actually going to start staging today.
Okay.
And the thing about the Heritage Festival, aka the old Wing Blinger,
Sure.
is that this is our big kind of annual event.
It is.
It's very much heritage. People get to come and hear who we are. Those that haven't been there in a while, they come back. Those that are there maybe regularly love to come out because we have artisans that do traditional hands-on demos.
Yeah.
All the buildings are open.
Of course. That's what makes it so much fun because it is like taking a step in the past. And I don't mean like you're at the original days. I'm saying it's a good old-fashioned kind of get-together.
It is. And our volunteers and docents will be in costume.
Oh, yeah.
So you really will feel like you are during that time period.
And there's so much going on. You pack so much in from 10 to 4. I mean, I'm sure it's a long day for you guys, but you pack so much in. And I want to highlight the fact that it is for all ages.
Correct.
There's something for everybody there.
Yes, there is. Yeah, we'll have kids events. There's, like I said, demos, things for the older, middle, any age.
Yep.
We'll have something for everyone. The Boy Scouts are going to be there.
Oh,
They're going to
great.
teach people how to build a fire and how to extinguish a fire. We always have our spinners and our lace makers, which
Of
are
course.
always fun. This year we're also going to have candle dipping.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, our baseball exhibit.
Tell us about that.
So
We brought it up on the show
Yes.
because I know there was a big grand opening, which seems like yesterday, but I think it was the beginning of summer, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wow,
the end of June,
unbelievable.
and now we're closing it out.
How's it gone?
It's been really
Oh,
great.
good.
I mean, we've received wonderful feedback, people that, haven't been there before, and then people who have been sharing these amazing stories about baseball.
Sure.
I hate to diss the football, but really, when we learned that baseball was truly what the sport was in Corning, that brought so many people together. We've had ladies share how that was what you did on a Friday
Oh, sure,
night.
sure.
People that could remember hearing the games. The War Memorial Stadium was dedicated for Corning baseball. So it's just amazing that we have this type of history here.
And this is the closing day.
It is, and actually Don Allison, who was a big part of getting us that collection and getting that exhibit going, is actually going to be there from
Oh,
11
that's
to 2, to kind of just share again his memories, answer any questions that you have.
Sure.
And actually, so Gary Hess, who was one of the baseball players from the Corning Red Sox, actually signed a baseball when he was back in town and did the big interview with Larry French and Andy Malinowski. And he is actually, we're going to actually have that as a door prize.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Wow. And you mentioned door prizes.
Yes.
There's a lot of raffles, right?
Yes, we do. We have a golf package for 4. We have a Steuben pumpkin.
Oh, wow.
The Orchestra of the Southern Finger Lakes with a dinner. I mean, there is a raffle for everybody.
And there's great raffles. And also, I would recommend, you don't have to, but recommend bringing some extra money because there's so many neat things that you can buy that you really can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true. We have a country store. So there's a lot of traditional linens and quilts. We actually have a Tom Gardner painting that we're going to be auctioning off, a nice, beautiful fall landscape. So, I mean, there is literally something, and definitely, bring some money.
Are there more than that for auctions? I didn't realize there was auctions, or is that the main one?
That's the main one, and then the others are door prizes and raffles.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because I want to know how much money I should bring. Something, and I don't know if it's new this year. I don't remember you having it in the past, but these are so popular. We talked to so many people about the cornhole tournament.
Yeah, no. So our theme is actually corn.
Okay, well, so you have to have a cornhole contest.
So we have to have a cornhole tournament, but we figured what a great way. I mean, it's something, again, that everyone can do, and it's so popular in the area. And we figured, well, we're kind of closing out the baseball, so can't really do a baseball tournament, so why not have a cornhole tournament?
Not really room for a baseball tournament either. You guys pack in a lot of punch in that space.
Absolutely.
And it's a big space, but I know with the Wing Blinger when I used to go, and of course since then, since it's changed names, it was always amazing how much it almost seemed like you could miss something, and it's not even that large of an area.
No, we every little bit of our grounds will be covered, and another new thing that we have this year too. So we always have entertainment, and we actually have an Indian dance group.
Oh, that's great.
That is going to be there, and they are going to perform a traditional harvest ceremonial dance.
How nice is that?
So again, it's that whole heritage of that time period, but also all these great new pieces.
Yeah, and you're going to have music throughout the day as well on top of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So it's one of those, and I know it's 10 to 4, and people want to come over as well to Harvest Fest, but you could really spend the 10 to 4, I think, and not get bored.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's just so much to do, and that's always been the case, and that's why it's so much fun. It's 73 West Pulteney Street. If you're not familiar, it is what you might think is the Benjamin Patterson Inn. It's the Heritage Village now is the new name. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to the most?
I think just seeing people coming out and just having fun.
Yeah.
And especially those that may not have seen spinners before, you know, kind of giving their hand, a try at that. And I think just we love to have families and people just come and spend the day with us and share those memories too.
And if people haven't toured the grounds before, they're really missing out. You know how people talk about when you live in a community and when your friends say, have you been to the museum, and you go, no. And I've lived here my whole life. Of course, I've been there at the Benjamin Patterson Inn. I think any kid growing up in school visited at least once. But for those that may be new to the area or haven't had a chance to go in a while, a lot has changed, but the tours of the historic buildings are still essentially the same.
Absolutely. And we'll have all of the buildings open. The barn, the schoolhouse, blacksmith. It's so they can go into every single building. There'll be something there for everybody, and people that will be able to tell the stories of those buildings.
So when you plan this each year, are you always looking for something new or something to add on?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because we want to keep it fresh.
Yeah, of course.
And we want to keep it very fluid, but we still want to have the traditional aspects of it as well. So, So
there's certain things you could never get rid of.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be protests in the street.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If we didn't have that blacksmith shop open.
Exactly. And it's just something about it. And I know going back to it as the leaves are falling here on Market Street, not everywhere else, but on Market Street, it makes you think of fall. I don't know if it's the campfires going or the fires that are always going on the grounds, and just the activities surrounding it, which is why Heritage Festival is kind of a perfect name. It is like stepping back in the past, but it's also making you look forward to here comes fall, essentially.
Yes, yeah. We didn't have the leaves, but we do have falling apples from our apple tree.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm sure you'll use that for something.
Exactly.
And there's also one thing I want to highlight, because again, it's for all ages. There's going to be visiting farm animals as well.
Yes, there is.
And that's kind of neat.
Goats and rabbits. So,
wow.
And those are, who doesn't love an animal?
Exactly. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for pictures, is what you're saying.
Yes.
That's what that's where everybody goes out for things now.
Oh yeah, and we always encourage that. And even in the baseball exhibit, we encourage people to take pictures.
Oh yeah.
Because we want them to capture those memories,
of course,
but then also share, with people as well.
And now for those that maybe can't make it out or for whatever sorry, I got a frog in my throat. But for those who can't make it out, what should they know about the actual Heritage Village site itself?
So we do tours on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at noon.
We got people waving.
Well, hey, here you go. Hold up my flyer. We do Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We do tours.
Okay.
We ask that people call ahead of time, just so we can book those, because it's not self-guided. We have a docent that really takes you on that tour and shares those stories and really what we have. So we always encourage people to come back out and revisit, us at the tour. But then also stay tuned to our website and social media sites because we do host other things in the fall.
Yes.
Holiday open house in December. That's a really traditional one as well. So we always try to have something going on for people.
Yeah. How long should someone book a tour in advance?
Usually we ask if they can give us a couple days notice,
Okay.
just because, we want to make sure that we have it fully covered.
So again, just before we go, where's the best place to find out more?
Well, they can go to our website, which is heritagevillagesfl.org, or they can check out our Facebook page, which is Heritage Village SFL.
Well, best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
And you know it's going to be a success.
Oh, yeah.
The town loves coming out.
Oh,
The
yeah.
surrounding areas love coming out to the Heritage Festival. It's this Saturday, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Don't miss out. And make sure to say hi because I'm going to stop over. And I'm looking forward to... I'm not joining the cornhole tournament, though. I'm no good.
All right. Are you sure?
Yeah. Unless, why, is there a buy-in? They can take my money?
Well, they're going to have one that's like for kids, too.
Oh,
We'll have something for kids.
I'll see if I can beat the little kids. I'll bring home a medal.
There you go.
But no, I'm looking forward to the raffles and the whole event. It's going to be great. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Stay with us.
Race car drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. And now may be your last chance to get one before they're gone. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. Here's what you see with that ordinary rear view mirror, and here's what you see with Angel View. Look, over 800,000 blind spot accidents occur each year. You think you're clear to change lanes, but you're not. And that's why they call it a blind spot. But Angel View's crystal clear mirror gives you perfect panoramic vision without that awful fisheye effect like other little mirrors. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Angel View installs in seconds to virtually any car or SUV. And the spring-loaded rubber feet automatically adjust to hold on tight. From a senior driver to a first-time teen, and everyone in between. With Angel View, you see them. Without it, you won't. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99 through this special offer. But wait, there's breaking news. Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. There is a strict limit of 3 Angel Views per order while supplies last. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0593. That's 1-800-897-0593 or visit getangelview.com. So call 1-800-897-0593. Order now.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much to our guest, Charlotte Smith, for being on the program. It sounds like they're going to have a blast at the Heritage Festival. So think about that. You can go to the Harvest Festival in Corning, and then go to the Heritage Festival, still in Corning, but on Pulteney Street. Don't miss it. They do a great job, and as we were joking, the old Wing Blinger. I used to look forward to it every year, and just as I look forward to the Heritage Festival. Now, we received a couple comments during our interview. First up, and I'm trying to get some information, as you can see here, as I'm looking at the screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. First comment is from a viewer who says, and I quote, "Hello, Frank. Hi." Let me add that to the wave. "I'm sorry I didn't hear anything in the interview with Charlotte Smith where she said they did tours on Thursday. Are they still this close to the festival doing a tour today? And if so, what time? Please put that on the air because I would love to run over there today and see their tour. Thank you so much. Bye for now." I don't have the answer for that. I doubt it because she had said if you want a tour to kind of give them 2 days notice, something like that. But if there's I don't know how it works if there's another tour going on today, that perhaps that could be the case that you would. Oh, did the music keep playing? I hope not. So here's the information I got for you. I would call before you just run over, and I got the number here for you if you're ready. And I can text. Well, no, you do voicemail. So here it is. Ready? 607-937-5281. So again, 607-937-5281. And that is the number to Heritage Village, and they will let you know if there's a tour going on today that you could take part in, because it is an amazing tour. But I would say in future weeks, if you want to do it, call that same number, give them a couple days notice so they can be prepared for the tour. All right, another comment, a viewer who's not necessarily a fan of the program and having some trouble with the autocorrect this morning. But they had a point. You should review a constitutional amendment every day. Every day, have a constitutional 10 minutes on the show. Do something positive. Well, a couple things about that. And there's other comments that I can't and won't read. I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a 2-hour show. I don't believe I will do that every day, just so you're aware. I believe, and I would recommend anybody that watches this program, read a constitutional amendment every day before you go into work or school, or after when you want to unwind. I would highly recommend that. I do think that'd be a positive thing. This is more breaking news type related show, so that's not what this is all about. But to your point of doing something positive, suggesting perhaps that we don't do a lot of positive on this program, which gives me a perfect segue. Folks, if you are not busy this weekend and want to walk around, have that unique opportunity to walk around Watkins Glen International, the raceway, you can still register for a team for that Alzheimer's walk. It's the Walk to End Alzheimer's. You see that website at the bottom. That's to register your team. Now, if you can't make it and you'd like to donate to the Big Fox team here, which we've got some great donations, and thank you so much. The viewers are the best here. You can't, I don't think you can go anywhere else where you have viewer support. I sound like PBS here. Viewer supported, but in real support, not just looking out for number one, meaning PBS looking out for number one. We're looking out for, in this case, Walk That Alzheimer's. We got so many great donations for last weekends, 2 weekends ago, the Salvation Army fundraiser, which we heavily promoted, and so many people donated from this show directly. And it was a huge success. We had the meeting yesterday, huge success, the fundraiser, and that was because of the viewers. So again, I would suggest that we do very many positive things here on the program, and this is one of them. But if you'd like to donate to Team Big Fox, we would highly appreciate it, because we're already a success because of you. But we're going to try to do as much as we possibly can to end Alzheimer's. And I'm looking forward, if you are a team, if we're a competitive team, please stop over and say hi. We'll have a nice chat. Appreciate it. Okay. Some other comments coming in. We'll get to that in just a little bit. This is just quickly. I'm intrigued by how when there's a misunderstanding or mistake when it comes to social media, the mistake only seems to play against Republicans. It always seems to be in Democrats' favors, right? Like, oops, that fact check on social media was inaccurate. We apologize to Trump support. Well, they wouldn't say it that way, but to Trump because it was just an error, just complete mistake. Well, here's another example, and I'm not picking on your team if this happens to be your football team, but at a Cardinals game, the Arizona Cardinals, a woman was forced to throw her MAGA hat in the trash. Now, if it's an officially licensed MAGA hat, that was expensive. If it's one of the bootleg ones you can get outside a rally or in certain stores, not as expensive, but still costly. So the Arizona Cardinals have now apologized to the woman, who was told she had to remove her Make America Great Again hat in order to enter State Farm Stadium. The team confirmed that this happened, saying, in an isolated incident at Sunday's game, a stadium security member misunderstood a policy on prohibited items. Like most venues, signage, posters, flags, or displays that are political in nature are not permitted. However, that did not apply in this instance. Moving forward, we will work to provide clarity to all stadium personnel in these situations. We have also reached out to the individual involved to communicate that their experience was not consistent with our policies and practices and to apologize for that. The person that had this happen to her, Susan Rosner, said that the staffer said, you can't bring that in here. And she's like, no political hats or shirts. And I have said, I haven't heard that at all. And I said, that doesn't make sense to me. And she goes, I said, take your hat off. In retrospect, I wish I would have stood my ground a little bit, but I wasn't sure what the repercussions would be, and my husband would kill me if I did something with the season tickets or that jeopardized them somehow. Just another example of how that always seems to go just one way. So just a misunderstanding. Was it a misunderstanding, or was it because it started making the national news? Because it was actually reported on X and starting to go viral. That's what I always wonder, if you could be a fly on the wall behind the scenes. Same with social media when this happens. Would they admit to the mistake if they hadn't already been caught red-handed? All right, asking the question again, what do you think about the Teamsters not endorsing either candidate, which many have said, and I would agree with, that means it is an endorsement for Trump. Internal polling shows that the majority of Teamsters support Trump, nearly 60%. Support Trump. And so instead of saying, well, this is where our union members are going, we should go that way, they said, no, we're just not going to endorse anybody. Throw up our hands and give up and say, no one gets our endorsement. We'll talk a little bit about that, though we have been talking about all morning, so we won't spend too much time on it. A couple other things we want to get to before we wrap up, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Come explore magic of Knapp Winery. It's the perfect fusion of wine, food, and panoramic views. This charming destination will delight every palate with a curated wine flight, wine by the glass, or your favorite bottle to share. Some special finds to try are Knapp's iced wine, dry rosé, and Saperavi. While soaking in the view, you may want to enjoy a brunch, lunch, or dinner at the on-site restaurant. Book your experience at Knapp Winery today.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. To the viewer, we have a couple of comments coming in who spread knowledge, not ignorance. Try it out. Well, thank you. And then says, have a nice day. Start with have a nice day. You have a nice day, too, as well. I appreciate that. I'm sorry not following your advice. It's just not time on the 2-hour show. Next up, from a comment from a different viewer. Good that they didn't take sides, meaning the Teamsters. Maybe people will use common sense when voting instead of following the pack. Great point. Teamsters won't endorse in a presidential race. This coming from CNN, which I'm sure they didn't want to report on this. And the first time in nearly 3 decades that the union has not endorsed a presidential candidate. Quote, unfortunately, this is coming from the Teamsters, neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union to ensure the interests of working people are always put before big businesses, said Teamster President Sean O'Brien. We sought commitments from both Trump and Harris not to interfere in critical union campaigns or core Teamster industries and to honor our members' right to strike. But we're unable to secure those pledges. Now, the polling internally with the Teamsters shows that Trump received 60% of members' votes. Maybe I'm wording that strange. 60% of members believe the union should endorse Trump, while 34% supported Harris, and about 6% said they supported other candidates. I would suggest probably the 34 that supported Harris were probably in the upper echelons of the union, the more the presidents, etc. Trump saying after this announcement, it's a great honor. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. That's a big thing. Democrats automatically have the Teamsters. They took a vote, and I guess I was at 60% or more, and that is a great honor. So your thoughts on that? That is a big, I mean, like I said, I think it was Dukakis was the last time this hadn't happened, I believe I read somewhere. While this is from Trump's campaign press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, saying, while the Teamsters executive board is making no formal endorsement, the hardworking members of the Teamsters have been loud and clear. They want President Trump back in the White House. These hardworking men and women are the backbone of America, and President Trump will strongly stand up with them when he's back in the White House. While the non-endorsement was about a specific policy, this year's announcement is more similar to the union's, or I'm sorry, they went back in 96. But this year's announcement is more similar to the union's rejection of the 1988 Democratic presidential nominee Michael Dukakis. Instead, the Teamsters endorsed Republican presidential nominee George H.W. Bush. Now, Bush went on to defeat Dukakis in the general election. He won 41 states on his way to 426 electoral votes. A couple other things. Oh, boy, we got a lot to get to. Kamala Harris was shredded for a word salad again. This is she's starting to slightly dip her toe in the water with more interviews. If you look at the number, Trump and Vance ticket combined have done 55 interviews since last month, compared to 14 for Harris and Walz. And that number surprised me that it was up to 14. After weeks of avoiding interviews, Harris has stepped up her appearance in recent days, sitting for a digital video interview with Wired on Wednesday, her campaign announced. She also spoke with a Spanish radio host and the National Association of Black Journalists this week. Harris was interviewed by Action News 6, ABC, on Friday in Philadelphia, which came on the heels of a report that her campaign is looking for her to do more local interviews in the swing states like Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, Trump spoke with supporter Elon Musk in his first interview since the assassination attempt against him on Sunday. And he also sat down for an interview with Fox News contributor and Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen. And on Wednesday, he joined Gutfeld for an extended appearance, the full hour. Vance has done dozens of interviews, adding to that number. And Walz has been doing more local interviews. So 55 to 14. But when Harris, this was on Wednesday, Harris spoke at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's 47th Annual Leadership Conference in Washington, providing few specific details. And that's one of the reasons she's giving more interviews, because they're showing, and even CNN reported on this yesterday, that undecided voters want more substance from her. You know, they can say the momentum was great. The debate was fantastic, but the people that actually watched it and were going to decide on who to vote for realized, reading between the lines, there was no policy there. There was generalities. There were statements that she practiced, but no real substance. So during this interview, Harris spoke about providing families with the necessary resources so the parents can raise their children well, declaring, and I quote, "I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community, and we should all have a vested interest in ensuring that children can grow up with the resources that they need to achieve their God-given potential." And that's a habit of hers, to repeat a phrase, making a phrase longer than it needs to be. Children of the community. So I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community. Not necessary to say it twice, not necessary to make it that long. Numerous commentators were quick to point this out. It's really weird. One person saying she's a deep thinker. We know exactly why Kamala Harris doesn't have serious interviews. Radio personality Mike North said, "I grew up in the neighborhood, and I'm a neighborhood guy that lives in the neighborhood with neighbors who also live in the neighborhood." But it is a common thing, and that's why many in the media have accepted the fact that she's not doing more interviews, because if she goes to the local interviews, they're not going to press her as hard. And not that the legacy media is not going to press her that much harder, but they have to go in with a follow-up to look professional. The local people, they're just trying to keep their job. They're trying to move up in the world. They're probably younger reporters, and they don't want that awkwardness of going back in for an answer, right? So they know that they have that on their side, because she can say something like that has no real substance and just move on. Now, that's not specifically an interview for media, but that's why they've chosen the local outlets as compared to more national outlets that may hold her to more accountability. But she is going to get more interviews. That's we have been promised that. Now, whether or not they get away from just local, time will tell. But we got to take a break and then wrap things up Get your last second questions in because we've only got a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Struggling with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Talk to your doctor about #1 prescribed Entyvio, offering 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Entyvio, relief, remission for real.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor for 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. A comment from a viewer. Children of the community are the community's children. Sounds communist to me. Okay, thank you, viewer. Another comment. I think this is from a different viewer. I think it's a lousy thing that happened at the stadium, the Cardinal Stadium that we mentioned, where an attendee had to throw away their MAGA hat. The Cardinals have since apologized. On the other hand, I think liberty is worth jeopardizing season tickets, in my opinion. That's why we are in this mess. It's only money. I would agree with you. There is a lot of people watching this show that I think would not agree with you, especially Bills, Giants season ticket holders. I am with you, but I think I've seen some season ticket holders, and I don't know if they would have the same opinion. To your point, it may upset you, but different viewers comment. When will Trump be on Frankly Speaking? He owes you, and won when he did it. That is true. Trump did win when he was on my show. That's a very good point. Well, I don't know if he will be on. I will say this. I didn't know when he was on last time. I didn't know he was going to come on. So that was all off the fly. So who knows? Maybe one of these people texting in right now. Maybe former President Donald Trump. Okay. I'll ask this question. This is from a viewer, not from me. Ask the former workers of Dresser Rand, Siemens, and Olean how their 2020 union endorsement of Biden worked out for them. Now, did you see? Thank you for the comment. Getting those last ones in. Oh, did you see the Democrat operative who left the Democratic Party? Saying it's impossible to unsee what I've seen. But once wandering around the DNC, I couldn't escape a sinking feeling. This was in an op-ed with Newsweek. I felt submersed in a hollow chamber whose mottos were brat, summer, and joy, totally out of touch with regular, everyday Americans and their pressing needs. Instead, the most elite people in the world chanted in unison that we're not going back. I found myself feeling disenfranchised, lost, sad, and alone. As someone who was given her life to Democrat politics, it was devastating. But if I'm being honest, it wasn't totally surprising. That's an interesting piece because it was the elite people, right? Chanting, we're not going to go back. The same elite people who chose the candidate because it wasn't the common person that she's talking about there that had an opportunity to vote for Kamala Harris, who did not receive a single vote. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. That specifically, Charlotte Smith from the Heritage Festival, which is this Saturday from 10 to 4. Tomorrow on the program, Michaela Rossetti Azimi, who's running for Supreme County Court and Family Court. Supreme County Court. What? Steuben County Court and Family Court. You can tell I'm rushing around because we're out of time. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the waves. We'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already.